Hey everyone, welcome to the first devlog for Pogo Rogue. Pogo Rogue is planned to be a speed-based roguelike centered on your pogo stick. It's being developed by students at the University of Utah, and the University of Utah is a university in Utah, it's in the name. Home to one of the nation's best programs in game development, every year the seniors work together on their capstone project, which is a published video game. Basically, this project goes through the following 7 stages. We'll be focusing purely on the prototyping phase in this video, as ideation is basically what games we want to make and then finalizing that, and all the others we haven't actually started on yet. So yeah, basically this video will be focusing on that journey of the prototyping phase, which takes about 2 weeks. When beginning to conceptualize the game, we started at ground zero with the one-sheet pitch document. From here, we selected key aspects of the game that we really wanted to emphasize during this phase. We then organized the aspects of the game that best fit these categories, while also adding a couple of our own. To help guide us through this process, we wrote a simple vision statement, which is this: pogo stick movement feels and looks fun and intuitive with roguelite gameplay that supports it. So with our vision clear, we moved on to organizing the team and our resources. During this prototype phase, we had 14 of us in total, and we decided to break up into subdisciplines, so art and engineering. The engineering team decided to use GameMaker as the game engine of choice, and we all used GitHub and Discord to organize everything else. Whew. Now with all those boring details out of the way, let's get on to the actual fun stuff. Our biggest focus was definitely on the player character itself. If it wasn't fun to bounce around, then everything else ended up being pointless. Luckily, our vision holder has worked with a similar system before, so we had a head start. After some testing, we honed in on a movement style that seemed to fit the criteria. The player uses the mouse to angle the pogo stick. Where the enemy bounces to depends solely on how they land. This results in gameplay that was intuitive, but still definitely had room for skill growth. While this system might remind you of some other games with bouncing movements, there's one big difference. Basically, once you land, your next bounce path is set. With one exception. In Pogo Rogue, your pogo stick is more than just a mode of travel. It's a weapon. So you can also shoot from the bottom, propelling your movement in different directions. This allows for increased flexibility in the air itself, and obvious implications with combat. Regarding the character art, we ended up using a previous sprite made in one of the games that the vision holder had created. This way the artist could focus on the concept art for our character in the future without worrying about the animation and whatnot that would be needed for the prototype. Here's some of the examples of the concept art we did create, though we'll be exploring them more in the future. The initial one-page document mentions moving up a dungeon tower, and as we had visions for this game to be a roguelite, we felt incorporating some sort of random generation would be in our favor. Ideas were discussed, and we did land on one that felt right for our game. The system we ended up going with was one that was actually within GameMaker itself. We could have our level designers draw a level using pixel art. This would then tell the engine where to place the actual tiles that correlated with the specific pixel colors. From there, the game just randomly selects a tile or room to connect to, creating a unique playthrough for the player. Meanwhile, this is where the art and the narrative starts to play a bigger role. While narrative isn't going to be a major aspect of the game, it does help add cohesion to the art and design. We decided during this phase to lean into the robot and pogo stick elements, setting the gameplay in a futuristic toy factory. Tile sets were drawn up and color schemes were explored. These stayed mostly in the conceptualization stage. Obviously, enemies and upgrades play a pretty heavy role within roguelikes and lights. However, at this point we were fairly limited on time. So regarding the enemies, we came up with 3 types. The first was an enemy that hurt to land on, but you could shoot to get rid of. To represent this, we made a construction brick robot. The second was a hovering enemy that you could land on, but not go through. It could also be shot and was a robot twist on those old fairy flyers. You know the ones. Lastly, we had an enemy you could shoot or land on. It would just be a tiny toy robot. Regarding the upgrades, we kept it simple, and added an autogun version of the weapon. It shoots more bullets and has slower but more predictable trajectories. To represent item pickups, one of the artists had a fantastic idea to make little capsules like the ones you get out of coin-operated machines. At the end of the prototyping phase, we present gameplay of our build, along with any key features and plans for the future. This is done in front of an industry panel, basically a panel made up of industry professionals. After this, using the industry panel's feedback, the professors select the final 8 games. Overall, the presentation went well, and then it was just the waiting game.
Team number 2.
Team number 2 is Pogo Rogue.
With that, we were through. However, this was just the beginning. We would soon be getting an additional 10 teammates. More challenges would appear as we learned to work in such a large group and hone in on our game. That's all part of the alpha phase though, leaving us to look back on the prototype. Overall, we're pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and we're excited to see where this goes. We began to see what works and what doesn't, and will continue to grow the project and ourselves as developers. If you are interested in this project, make sure to subscribe and keep updated on it. We would also love to hear your thoughts and feedback. You can actually play the prototype right now on itch.io, link in the description, and share your impressions either there in the comments or here in the comments below. We have a variety of social media like a Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and even TikTok. Each of these show a different aspect of the game and game development, so feel free to follow any of those that catch your eye. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this video and any support you choose to give.